NATO foreign ministers gathered in Brussels Wednesday for a one-day meeting to discuss the U.S. peace proposal to end the war in Ukraine and the bloc's support for the country. According to Associated Press, while U.S. President Donald Trump is putting all his effort in breaking a peace deal between Ukraine and Russia, it remains unclear how envoys are going to bridge the gap between the two sides on basic differences such as who keeps what territory. European officials say the road to peace will be long. European leaders want to make their voices heard after being largely sidelined by Washington. They are also working on future security guarantees for Ukraine.
Please ask you to look straight in front of you for a few seconds. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Russia continues to test our deterrence. Russia has violated our airspace with jets and drones, conducted sabotage and sent spy ships into our waters. These actions are reckless and they are dangerous. And it's not Russia alone. It is working closely with China, North Korea and Iran to attempt to disrupt our societies and tear up the global rules. They are preparing for long-term confrontation. And we are responding with strength, unity and resolve. Russian missiles keep causing death and destruction. And winter is here. Ukraine needs our support more than ever. We all want the bloodshed to stop, and I strongly welcome President Trump's continued efforts to end this war. Meanwhile, we must accelerate our contributions to Pearl to get urgently needed equipment to Ukraine so that it can defend itself today and prevent aggression in the future. Good morning, all of you. Early hour. Again, Ukraine. How do we make sure that Ukraine stays as strong as possible? The peace talks are ongoing. That's good, but at the same time we have to make sure that whilst they take place, and we are not sure when they will end, that Ukraine is in the strongest possible position to keep the fight going, to fight back against the Russians, but also in the strongest possible position when peace talks really get to a point where they sit at the table. I'm not going to react to everything Putin is saying. We have seen him in military clothes, dressed like a soldier at the front, but not at the front. It was quite far from the front the day before yesterday. So, no, I'm not going to react to everything. And when you look at the overall numbers, as I said yesterday, we are now at 4 billion. So that means we are really on track for the 1 billion a month, August, September, October, November. And I'm cautiously optimistic that we will reach the 5 billion for the full year. And then for next year, we need for the full year, again, a lot of money, at least 1 billion, maybe even a little bit more than 1 billion a month. It might be around 50, maybe a little bit more for the whole year when it comes to this crucial US gear. So this is offensive and defensive, including interceptors for the air defense systems, crucial to keep Ukrainian civilians and civilian infrastructure safe. So it is really good that this flow is there, that Europeans are stepping up, and Canada, by the way, also doing a lot here. So really, really glad that this is working. Sure. No, I mean, I commented before that, of course, when corruption takes place, that it is important, and these corruption cases emerge, that the Ukrainians deal with it. And they are dealing with it. I think the Ukrainian president is taking all the necessary steps to root out corruption. Again, the process is taking place. We had successful meetings in Geneva and in Miami between the American and Ukrainian teams. Last night there was the meeting in Moscow. Again, I'm not going to comment on every step on the way. It's important that the peace process is there. Hopefully it will lead to results. And if it takes too long or it is not leading to results, the best way to put pressure on the Russians is by doing two things. One is making sure that the Russians understand that the weapon flow into Ukraine will keep on going. That's exactly what's happening today, thanks to the US, thanks to the Europeans. US sending its crucial gear to Ukraine, paid for by Canada and European allies, but also Europe and Canada doing a lot bilaterally. And secondly, making sure that the economic sanctions bite, that they are effective. That's also exactly what is happening. The US and Europe working in conjunction to have the maximum impact through sanctions on the Russian economy.
Early morning. What we see is that Putin has not changed any goals. He's pushing more aggressively on the battlefield. It's pretty obvious that he doesn't want to have any kind of peace, and that's why the way to put more restrictions to Ukraine is the wrong way. Actually, we must put more pressure on Russia. If you're going to use the Russian frozen assets, if we are putting more pressure on Russia about the sanctions, as well, the European Union is preparing the tariffs about all the import from Belarus and also Russia. So we have lots of leverages to push Putin. So he's using these typical tactics to play without fears. But worst thing, Europe never attacks Russia. We will never do it. NATO never attacks nobody. So this is just playing with our minds.
We all were following the news from both Moscow but also from Kiev and other places. So nobody should be trying to get results through the so-called peace talks that they can get on the warfield, on the battlefield. And that is what Russia is trying. Russia is trying to undermine the US standing in the world. Russia is trying to split NATO, and they are trying to get it through these so-called peace talks. Ukraine deserves a peace that is just, peace that is long-lasting.
Norway today will announce an additional $500 million for Pearl programs, distributed in two packages, one together with Germany and Poland, and one together with Germany and the Netherlands. Because this is really a moment to ramp up support for Ukraine. They need to be able to negotiate from a position of strength. And it's also important that we already now remember that when this war eventually ends, Ukraine needs to be capable and able to defend itself against any return of hostilities. And this is a shared commitment.
The frozen assets is a potential game changer. And of course, we need to make sure that Belgium feels secure when releasing these assets, because it is a great part of their GDP. And of course, Sweden is willing to contribute to that.
Well, I look forward to a future where Ukraine is a full member in NATO. It might not happen tomorrow, it would anyway not happen tomorrow, but someday it has to be possible, and I'm sure it's in the full interest of the entire alliance.